Okay, hello everyone. This is a bit of an impromptu live stream. So, as it happens, I know I've been away from the live streaming thing for a little while, and I'm hoping to get back into that soon. As it happens, if I bring up my analytics, I'm just about to tick over to the 10,000 subscriber milestone, which is really huge. It's something that is a really big milestone for a lot of people to reach. A lot of people look forward to it. We start on YouTube. I started 2.5 years ago, which seems it seems an incredible length of time looking back. And yeah, I never thought it would take not take so long. I never thought it would take so little time to reach the 10,000 subscriber mark, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that in real time. So if you're joining me, welcome. If you're not subscribed already and you're watching this, hit that subscribe button down below somewhere, because that will tick over. This is a real time a real time update, so it's not what you'll be seeing. I think YouTube have kind of done away with that live kind of subscriber count. They do it to the nearest thousand, so it might be that actually it's already displaying 10,000 wherever you are, but really we're on 9,999 subscribers and just about to tick over to that. So I'm just going to change this screen around here, and we can watch that in the background. So yeah, I started 2.5 years ago on this journey. I had an idea kind of 6 months before that I was sick of seeing a lot of really bad information, a lot of misinformation online. I was sick of my clients kind of coming to me having been really worried about something serious that their pet was going through. But when actually it was something that was really simple, or alternatively, they'd wasted a lot of time and money following some steps that were never going to work, buying some product that was completely meaningless, completely useless. And ultimately, when they came to see me in the hospital, their pet was either much more sick or they had lost an awful lot of money. And as a result, were unable to afford maybe the investigations or the treatment that their pet really needed. I can't see that level. Let's see what it says. No, still 9,999. It's a bit small for me in the other one, and I can't really see it. Anyway, so that's I had that idea, and I was watching a YouTube channel. It was a photography channel, Thomas Heaton, who's a fantastic channel. If you're into photography, definitely check out his channel. And I'm not sure what it was about that. I think before then, I thought of YouTube as, like funny videos and things. I never really spent much time watching YouTube, wasn't familiar with the platform. And I thought, well, if he can teach people about photography, he can kind of have people join him with his passion. Why couldn't I do that as a veterinarian? So for those of you who don't know, I am a companion animal veterinarian. I deal with dogs and cats primarily, see a few rabbits, a few birds, a few other kind of small furries. We don't get a huge amount of exotics, so kind of your reptiles and things in the clinic that I'm currently at, and certainly where I am in New Zealand, we don't have a huge amount of those animals around. They're often not even allowed to be kept as pets, just because the biosecurity risk of having them in the country is quite big. But so I'm a veterinarian in my day job, my proper job, if you like. And when I looked online and I looked on YouTube, especially, I wasn't really finding very much. There are some other great veterinary channels out there, but they'd stopped posting, they weren't very consistent, or they weren't kind of trying to show up. They weren't doing a really good job of showing up in search and all that kind of thing. And it occurred to me that, well, if they can do that, why not me? So that's what started me on this journey. I spent about 6 months kind of weighing up the idea in my head, wondering if I had time for it. Little did I know how much time this would actually take up. And yeah, like it was the start of something that's, I guess, become maybe a little bit of an obsession, really. I have been spending an awful lot of time on YouTube. I guess I started off doing a couple of videos a week, which just kind of learning the ropes and that kind of thing to work out how to film videos. I've never done anything with filming, with editing videos, with setting up lighting or anything like that. So it's kind of learning the process. And then once I kind of got a bit more comfortable with that, and doing 2 videos a week definitely is something that will get you comfortable with that process. I've at times increased to 3 or more videos. I've had a podcast. I've got a couple of podcasts that are out as well, and everything is going up on a blog as well. So it's actually kind of a huge amount of work. And little did I think that my time investment, and I thought, oh, it'll take 3 or 4 hours a week. Well, I'm probably putting close to 15 to 20 hours a week into this project, producing these videos, but also the podcast, the blog. Check it out at ourpetshealth.com if you haven't already. I've got a lot of great resources there. I'm also about to launch the Our Pets Health Academy, which is going to be a little bit like a Patreon account. So I know a lot of YouTubers, as they get bigger, and the time and the costs involved with actually running a YouTube channel as well as a website and everything else that I've got going on, those costs do climb, and they're not an insignificant cost. So to try and help support that, and also to try and provide kind of their core audience, a little bit better of a service, really, because really, like, I'm here to serve you. They'll often do a Patreon account. Well, I looked at Patreon, and it's a great platform, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't allow me, or as far as I can see, it didn't allow me to provide the level of service that I would be comfortable to provide, or the value that I would be comfortable to provide with anyone who is paying a kind of a small monthly amount of money for membership and to support on Patreon. So I'm actually setting up the Our Pets Health Academy. It's going to be a very low monthly cost. That will include exclusive live streams, Q&A sessions. There's a lot of downloads, free downloads on there. There's going to be several courses. So I've already completed 1 course on arthritis. Now I do have a free arthritis mini course, which is an email course, but I've completely rewritten that, gone back to the very beginning for that and rewritten it. And that's going to be providing a lot of value and a lot of great kind of take home and action steps that anybody can take to make sure that their pet doesn't have arthritis in the first place, and also to help them work through that process of making sure their dog or their cat is as comfortable as possible. So if you're interested in that, and this was never meant to be a big plug about it, it's more just to let you know what's going on. If you go to ourpetshealth.com/member, I think it is, or if you just go there and you'll see a button in the navigation menu for Academy, and that will tell you a little bit more about that. It's not launched yet. It's going to be going live in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I don't have a set launch day, but there's going to be some good discounts and other things going on just when I launch that. So yeah, that's something if you're interested there. What else have we got going on? Well, I've been doing not back to 1 video a week. So you might have seen my last one was on puppy diarrhea, and then there was the one before that was one on the Wuhan coronavirus outbreak. So I've seen a lot of news articles about people either throwing their dogs and cats and rabbits and other kind of small furries actually off their apartment block balconies, because they were worried that their pet was going to transmit coronavirus and infect them. And I've also heard in other parts of the world, people taking their pet to the vet for euthanasia for no reason other than because of the fear of the spread of coronavirus. So that was a really important video that I wanted to make, just to kind of bust some of those myths. Obviously, it's a really dynamic situation with the coronavirus, and it's one that as it progresses, our knowledge will it will change. So let's have a little look. So they're not, sorry, just checking the my settings were all okay. It's a bit funny when you're here and you're not actually watching yourself to know if everything's working. Let's just have a little switch. Still on 9,999. So let's like I say, if you're watching this and you're not already subscribed, then make sure that you do. I'm just going to update that screen just in case it isn't updating live. There's a good chance. I mean, I get maybe about 20 or 30 subscribers a day, so I'm not going to stay on necessarily until it ticks over. We'll see if it will upgrade for me. But I just thought I was sitting down to edit a couple of videos and to also start recording a podcast. And I just saw that we were on that kind of magic number. There we go. So it's still on that. Let me get back. We were on that magic number, and I thought, oh, it'd be interesting to have a little look and see if we can get there. It's kind of exciting. It's funny, the thing with subscriber numbers. So I never set out on this journey to become YouTube famous, become a YouTuber. And like I said before, I wasn't even aware really of the YouTube platform before I started my own channel. It was more just to try and add some really good quality information to what was going on out there in the online world. And like I say, there's a lot of the danger with the internet. It's a fantastic thing, and don't get me wrong, I mean, we all do it. If there's anything wrong with your car, with yourself, with, if you've got something to fix at home, you're wondering how to do something, we all jump on the internet. So we all go to Google, or we go to YouTube. And YouTube is actually, if you don't know, it's the second biggest search engine in the world, behind google.com, and also YouTube is owned by Google, so Google pretty much dominate the search landscape. But it's so easy for anybody to put anything online, and that's certainly something that I've discovered, that you can, it doesn't take a lot of technicalities. I had never filmed anything, I never been in front of the camera, I'd never edited a video, I'd never dealt with audio podcasts, I'd never had well, I'd had a blog, I'd had a travel blog, but that was on blogger.com, where you literally just typed and it published it and all that. But I'd never had my own kind of proper website or anything like that before. And if I can do it, anyone can do it, that's for sure. So it's very easy for people to pop things up on the internet and claim to know what they're going on about, and claim to be experts in that field, or claim to have a really good in-depth knowledge, and come across as incredibly confident and incredibly knowledgeable, when in actual fact they really don't know. Maybe they're just talking from their own personal experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the danger, if you go from saying, well, this is my experience of something, to this is the experience of everybody in a vaguely similar situation, that's a very big jump to make. So there's an awful lot to go on, especially when it comes to healthcare. We're dealing with biological beings rather than kind of mechanical creations, which are much more predictable. So there's an awful lot of variation in individuals and all that kind of thing. And it's very easy for people to, through no fault of their own, to maybe mislead or give misinformation, and results in kind of having a real negative impact on an animal's care that's given, and that could be the preventative health care that's given in regards to vaccinations. And you don't need me to tell you that that kind of the anti-vax movement is really high, certainly in the human health field. Although, hopefully the massive outbreak of measles, I think it was kind of a few months ago, in Europe, certainly in New Zealand, there was a bit of an outbreak. Here in the Pacific Islands, it was really huge. In the States as well, I believe there was a bit, and there were, a lot of people dying, a lot of kids dying from measles, when, the information that's spouted by a lot of the anti-vaxxers is that measles is a completely harmless disease, and vaccination is incredibly dangerous, which of course, unfortunately, it's the exact opposite. Measles is a horrible disease that kills kids very regularly, when it's allowed to proliferate, especially, and vaccination is very, very safe. But all of this other information that's out there, it puts a little bit of doubt in people's mind, and it makes them question kind of the true experts, so the doctors. And then there's people who go, well, the doctors, they just want to keep people sick so that they have a job, which is just ridiculous. If you speak to anyone going through medical school, you speak to any kid who's hoping to be a doctor, ask them why they're going to do it, and it's not so that they can keep people sick and make lots of money. And I actually kind of, if people do think that about their doctors, I feel a bit sorry for them, because what experience have they had to to cause them to think in that way? And I mean, if you think of it like that, it's really sad that people do think that, when your doctor's only out to help you stay as healthy as possible. And it's the same with your vet. And there's a lot of anti-vet sentiment, unfortunately, out there on the internet as well. We're ripping people off. We're just in cahoots with big pharma or with the pet food companies. all we want is to make money. And I mean, I've addressed that in a couple of videos. If you've not seen them, about, kind of the cost of debt, the amount of debt that vet students are acquiring, especially now. Now, I qualified in 2006, so quite a few years ago. And in the UK then, tuition fees were not huge. They were about £1,000 a year, which is what, about 1500 US dollars, something like that, 1200 US dollars. I'm not sure what the current exchange rate is, especially with Brexit. But I've watched. So that was not very much. I came out with a significant student debt because there's all the loans you have to take on for living costs and everything, but nothing like the debt that current vet students take on. In the US, it is some eye-watering figure of about $250,000 to $300,000 in acquired debt to reach the end of vet school, which is a ridiculous figure. Now, there's going to be some that are less than that, but that is not an unusual figure. I was listening to a podcast the other day, a veterinary podcast, and they said that they knew of someone who had a debt of $700,000 on leaving vet school. Now, that's extreme. I don't know how they even managed to afford that or get that money. But these high levels, and if you think that your vet is just going in it to make money, well, quite the opposite. The chance of them paying off that debt in the next 20 years is probably pretty slim. So I've done videos about that, that hopefully address that, and as well as how much vets earn, and as well as other videos about being a vet as well. So what are the good things about being a vet? And there's a lot of great things that I really enjoy and I love about this profession. The clear one is the satisfaction of making our patients better when they're unwell, and keeping them as healthy as possible, seeing them as they grow from being puppies and kittens through to young adults, through to older individuals, and being able to provide the best healthcare that we can for their whole life. That's incredibly satisfying when I see patients back time and again, and also obviously dealing with the pet owner. That's actually one of the biggest things that I enjoy, is actually speaking to people, developing those relationships, and playing a really valuable part of that individual animal's life as well. And some of the things that pet owners will tell us in consult rooms is, it's amazing the level of intimacy that details what's going on in their personal life and all that kind of thing. It's really it's a real privilege to do the job that we do. But there's also downsides to this job as well. If you don't know already, it's something I've touched on a couple of times. The suicide rate among vets is 4 times higher than the general population. Again, for those of people who claim that vets are just in it for the money, why would that be the case if vets are killing themselves because of the work that they're doing? And that can be isolation. They're working, in small clinics. Maybe they're working by themselves. They don't have that support. It's incredibly stressful sometimes when we're dealing with a sick family member, because our pets are family. I mean, that's why I end every video saying because they're family. Because, for many of us, and I'm sure for those of you kind of watching now, and for those of you who, have been watching this channel and are looking up videos about pet health, they are part of the family, and they mean that much to us. And when they're sick, it's stressful clearly it's stressful for you, but don't think for any second that your vet isn't invested personally and emotionally in the outcome for your pet. We want as much as you, and unfortunately we want sometimes more than the pet owner, for that individual animal to get better, to be able to provide a satisfactory outcome, an outcome of a healthy pet, or one who is, much happier in themselves, or if it's palliative care, an individual who's more comfortable. And I guess that touches on one of the other big stresses. Is it's really upsetting when someone brings in an animal, their dog or their cat, that's been sick for a long time, and they don't really care. They're not really bothered, even if it's something that is potentially really treatable. They're not interested in spending any money at all. And I know things can be expensive, and I'm not talking about the expensive treatments, because I don't believe that everyone needs to be able to afford the absolute top level of care. I think if we expect that from every pet owner, then, I mean, even myself, I probably wouldn't have pets, because to be able to provide that top level of care, you need to have deep pockets, and that's not the case for the vast majority of people. But I'm talking about the very minimum of care that some people aren't even prepared to spend any money. And I think that speaks to maybe the lack of responsibility that some people have in their, in being a pet owner, and that is really challenging as well to deal with. So, that's another difficult thing dealing, of being with a vet, and may speak to some of the stress that a lot of vets feel in this job. And then, oh, look, I've been wittering on. I'm going to switch this over. 10,000 subscribers. So thank you, whoever was that 10,000th subscriber. So, yeah, I do know what to say. I have this streaming software that I'm not sure if I've used on YouTube before. I've used it for a few Facebook Lives, but it's got some things. And I just wrote this short sentence, very cheesy. So thanks everyone who's joined me on this journey. I appreciate you all. I really do appreciate you all so much. For all of you who have ever left a comment, who have given the video a thumbs up, even those of you who have given me a thumbs down, because it helps me work out what's valuable, what's not valuable to people. Anyone who's shared this channel, shared a video on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, or whatever. If you join me anywhere, I really do appreciate you so much. So let's get rid of that cheesy banner. Yeah, that's really exciting. So it's funny with YouTube. So for those of you who don't know much about YouTube and what it's like being a creator, and I've already said I don't really kind of consider myself a YouTuber. I guess what I'd be interested in is, if you're watching this now, if you could just leave a comment, maybe as saying, how long have you been watching the channel for? Is it your first time even? What did you come to the channel for? What videos have really helped? Maybe what you'd like to see from the channel in the future as well. I'd be really interested to hear what your thoughts are, and I always always take into account any comment, any feedback that I get. Certainly, if you leave a comment on the channel, I still do my very best to answer, or certainly acknowledge, every single comment. So whether that's a criticism, and I certainly do get a few of those, whether that's just a thanks for the information, I appreciate those more than you could probably imagine. Or if it's a question about what was delivered, or another question, then I do try my very best to give some kind of answer to any comment that I do get. I find it really, I think it's really important to try and answer those questions, and to be as available, if you like, as possible. Certainly, it's harder as as to do get more comments and things. It is harder to try and make sure that I am getting to everyone, but I do try my very best, and I'm still getting there. So yeah, thanks so much for joining me on this kind of milestone. Like I say, this was kind of like an impromptu live stream. I was aware that it was coming up, but I was just sitting down to have a little kind of play on the internet, to have a little, I need to kind of do some stuff on the blog and on the website. I've got some changes that I need to make. I'm working on the Our Pets Health Academy, which I've already mentioned, but that's something that's launching in a couple of weeks. So if you're interested in joining me for that, it's like a Patreon account, but better value, because Patreon, I didn't think, fulfilled the needs. It didn't allow me to provide the value that I wanted to for anyone who was supporting me, and it didn't allow me to kind of help in as much as I would like. So I'm launching the Our Pets Health Academy in a couple of weeks. So if you head over to the website, ourpetshealth.com, you'll see a link to that, which you can sign up to the waiting list if you're interested. This isn't a sales video at all. I never started this with the intention of it becoming being a YouTuber or anything like that. Which is funny that, 10,000 subscribers is still a huge milestone, and it's an awful lot of people. They always say, imagine if you had, even if you're not getting very many views, and there's certainly, there's a lot of videos that I release now that only get, 50, 80, 100 views in the first week or so. But if you picture all of those people who have watched that video in a room, that suddenly becomes an awful lot of people. So that's a really important thing, I think, for any creator to, to keep them grounded, if you like, and to realize the importance of every single person. So for all of you watching now, I definitely, appreciate each and every one of you. And it's been some journey, 2.5 years. I've been on, kind of live. I was working on things for 6 months before that. Yeah, and I've certainly learnt a lot. If I look back at some of my older videos, and feel free to go back into the archive. Let me just switch this view over now that we have reached that 10,000 milestone. Yeah, if I look back at some of my earlier videos, I was reading everything off a teleprompter. So I was scripting out every single video, which was then being used as a blog post. But God, the amount of time that took to script every single video. And so I was reading it off a teleprompter. So that is a skill in itself, to try and sound natural. And if I go back, wow, I sound far from natural, but it's all part of a learning process, and that got me more comfortable in front of the camera. And I'd like to think that I've got a lot better at my delivery. I'm sure there's still plenty to, well, I know there's still plenty to work on, but it's all a process. And if you practice anything, if you turn up at anything, you become better. And hopefully you'll appreciate that improvement as well. And if you're fairly new to the channel, and yeah, you haven't seen any of those older ones, yeah, I'd encourage you to go back. It's pretty cringy. I certainly also always used to have a lot of music behind behind what was going on, behind the videos. And in some of those, the volume is much too loud and you can hardly hear what I'm saying. I've got some videos where the focus is completely off. It's focusing on like the back wall and I'm all blurry. But actually, it's funny that a lot of the, one of the videos I think in particular, which is, I think it's the one on the best time to spay your dog and if you should spay them at all. Yeah, I'm a complete blur, but actually it's one of my more popular videos. I think it's one that has got the best, one of the better view duration, so people have watched longer. So, that showed me that actually you don't need to be technically perfect for the kind of channel that I am. If you're, some big channel that's a big kind of entertainment based channel, yeah, I mean, there's so many out there, aren't there? But like Dude Perfect or something. A few of those have been suggested to me recently. Some of the experimental channels, whatever it is, if it's an entertainment, that quality of video is important. And I think it's important for everybody to try and be as good as they can, but it shows that actually the information, if you're giving good information, then, it doesn't need to be perfect. And that was certainly encouraging to me in the early days, that those technically poor videos were still getting watched. They still are getting watched. 2.5 years later, well, probably the first few that I released are not getting watched at all and probably don't deserve to be. And I do hope to go back to some of those topics and revisit some of those topics to make them an awful lot better. And because they don't deserve to be watched in the sense that I was probably rambling on, maybe a little bit like now. And technically they were poor, and they were very long as well, which I know people aren't really that into really long videos on YouTube. I dealt with a lot of stuff about arthritis, which I go on about a lot in on this channel, about weight, the importance of being a healthy weight, how to lose weight, another really important thing. Yeah, which I guess reminds me, actually, like I do have, and it's something that you might have seen in the description to my videos or on some of the end screens I've been putting it on recently. I do have a free guide. If you go to my channel page, there's a link to the free guide somewhere in the header. There'll also be a link in the description to not maybe this video at the moment. I'm not sure how it goes out when it's live. Let me have a little look and see. No, it's not there, but it will be once it goes up. But yeah, if you go to ourpetshealth.com/petcare guide, there's a free guide there that runs through the 5 most important things that I think every pet owner needs to be aware of to make sure their pet is as healthy as possible. Let me think what they are. So I'll put myself on the spot here. So it's arthritis, being aware of pain, and not letting your pet be in pain. So arthritis is one of the most common diseases of our kind of middle-aged to older dogs and cats. And cats, people really don't appreciate it. It's massively underdiagnosed. It's not appreciated by cat owners, but it's not appreciated as much as it should be by vets either. It's not something that we push really hard to make sure that that diagnosis is made if it's present. So arthritis is a massive issue and has a huge impact on quality of life. So it's been shown there's 3 things that impact quality of life in a dog, and they've been shown to be arthritis, dental disease is the other one, and obesity is number 3. So those are 2 other things that I talk about. So yeah, keeping your pet's teeth as clean as possible. toothbrushing is the best thing that we can do. It's not the only thing that we can do, but it's definitely, that's why we brush our teeth twice a day, or we certainly should do. Because it keeps our teeth clean, and poor dental care is painful. Even if your pet is eating, they can still be painful. If they've got dental disease, they are going to have a painful mouth. You just have to think how sore, if you've ever had toothache, how debilitating is that pain? Well, our dogs and cats are much tougher than us. They put us to shame from that point of view. But I say to people that they don't know that if they stop eating, you're going to take them to the vet and have that pain addressed. They only know that if they stop eating, they're going to die. So, how painful does it have to be for them before they get to a stage where they're not eating? So don't leave it until they're at that point before you accept that they might have dental disease, or that if they do have dental disease, that you address it. Make sure you address it before it gets to that point. Don't think, well, okay, it's there, but it's not really causing problems because they're eating. And then weight is the other big one. Really, really important. There's an obesity epidemic sweeping through the pet population. In the States, it's about 60% of dogs and cats that are classified as overweight or obese. In the UK, I think the latest figure was maybe 30 to 40%, maybe. I suspect it's higher than that, to be honest. So I last practiced in the UK for 2 years. I left 3 years ago, so I've been in New Zealand for 3 years now. I was in the UK, back home in the UK for 2 years before that, and then I was actually in New Zealand for 5 years before that. My first job was 3 years in the UK after qualifying in the UK. For those of you who don't know. And in in Australia, I think it's about 30-40%. In New Zealand, I think it was the last figures, which are a number of years old now, was about 30-40%. But to be honest, with the animals that I see coming through my consult room, I think it's more like 60%, like the US figure, if not a bit higher. It's it has a huge impact on an individual's quality of life. They can't exercise as well. They get arthritis a lot younger. Their just general health is poor. So yeah, that rant's over. Now, the other things in my free pet care guide, so that was ourpetshealth.com/pet care guide. If you wanted to get that little ebook, it's only a few pages long, and it's just got some important action steps to take, links to a few other kind of deeper reading posts and things like that. Vaccination is a huge one. I've already kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, but it's really important. Like parvovirus is a horrible disease in dogs. It kills puppies very readily, even with prompt treatment. It kills them. Distemper, again, is a horrible disease. It is fatal. If it doesn't kill them, then they may get kind of eyesight problems, neurological problems where they're twitching, they're shaky, they're wobbly when they walk, problems with their pads. So another name for distemper is hard pad. Problems with their feet and walking from that point of view. Hepatitis, leptospirosis, whatever it is that is in your area, and whatever vaccines are required for you in your area, they are really important. I mean, it's one of the cornerstones of preventative healthcare for our pets as well as for us. And I've already touched on the anti-vax movement, so I don't need to say anything about that. And then the other thing is preventing other known diseases. So if you've got ticks in your area and they transmit a tick-borne disease, in Australia they've got like the paralysis tick. In America, you guys have got loads of other horrible diseases over there. Rocky Mountain fever, I think, is one. I've never been over there, so I've never had to deal with some of these things. Lyme disease is a big one that is across the US. It's reaching up into Canada. That area of risk is spreading. It's definitely in the UK, and it's becoming more prevalent there. So taking steps to prevent ticks. So that's using things like Bravecto tablets, which will kill ticks very, very effectively. The isoxazoline class of drug, which is the Bravecto, NexGard, Simparica, are incredibly effective. Yes, there are side effects. You're going to read about those. I've done a video addressing Bravecto side effects. There's no such thing as a drug that is zero side effects. If it actually does anything, there's always the risk of side effects, but they're very, very low. And if there's a significant risk of your dog contracting Lyme disease, in this case, there's a high tick population, and you walk in a really tick prone area, then it's definitely a risk worth taking, because the chances are that you're never going to see any problems, but you're much more likely to have problems with ticks. So it's weighing up those pros and cons. And, you'll never hear me say that there's no risk involved with everything we do. And, I don't think any vet would say that there's no risk, but it's all a risk benefit analysis, if you like, and weighing up the tiny chance of any significant side effects versus the risk of whatever it is that we're treating or we're preventing. And if the risk is also very tiny, then it's probably not worth it. An example would be a dog who doesn't mix with many other dogs. Well, the chance of them getting kennel cough is really, really going to be very small. So it's probably not worth vaccinating them against kennel cough. But if they go into kennels, if they go to doggy daycare, if they exercise in dog parks, the risk is much, much higher. It's pretty significant. And so kennel cough is definitely going to be a vaccine that's going to be worth recommending and certainly worth considering. The risk of any anaphylactic reaction is next to nothing. It's not nothing. There is a risk, but it's next to nothing. So that's kind of the things that, I guess it's become a little bit of a monologue about nothing in particular, this live stream. I think I'll call it a day here. So thanks again to all of you who've joined me on this journey to 10,001 subscribers. So that's cool. Like, it really, it's amazingly satisfying to me to know that I've hopefully played a real tiny part in helping a few pets have a healthier life. I'm just going to switch this because you might be interested to know what's going on. If I go to the lifetime view, so this is the back end of YouTube. This is the analytics. I've helped reach. If we go to reach, let's have a little look. Oh no. Yeah, so I've had 858,700 views on this channel, which is a mind-blowing number. It's unbelievable, really, what that is. Subscribers 10,000 over my lifetime, 45,500 hours. I wouldn't even know what that is in proper days, years, whatever. That's a huge amount of people that I've hopefully reached, and I hope I've had a small impact in your pet's health. Even if only Elias. Oh, thank you so much. I can actually, if I can do this, I've not, like I said, I'm kind of new with this system. Let's do this. Elias, let's turn off this one as well. Just want to tell you that you help my cat a lot, and I always come to your videos for advice. So thanks so much for leaving comments like that. Like, it can be very lonely when you're sitting recording videos after a day at work. You're up late editing videos. It takes a lot of time, and I'm not saying that to try and make anyone feel sorry for me. I choose to do this, after all. No one's making me. It's not my job. But it can, you sometimes wonder, does it really? Do I need to do another? What do I need to get another one out? Is my self-imposed schedule really worth it? And so comments like that, they absolutely, they mean an awful lot. It makes all that time, definitely worthwhile. And I'm really pleased that you find the information that I give, information, and it's helped. So thanks so much for leaving a message like that. And I encourage anyone who's watching, if you do, if you like any channel, if you're on anything where someone is, passionate about something, and they're doing, whatever it is, whether they're teaching you how to do woodwork or how to knit or how to cook, or they're just providing a funny video, it's they're gamers, and you're watching live streams, comments like that will mean a lot to them, no matter how big they are. Certainly for smaller creators where, we really are, doing it for love, not for money. It means an awful lot. So thanks for comments like that. I guess, it's something to touch on, which I haven't discussed at all, is, there's always the vets are in it for money. And thankfully the channel is starting to maybe not quite pay for itself, but it's not hemorrhaging me money quite as much as it was with AdSense. So I do have the AdSense turned on. You've probably seen some videos, seen some adverts before, maybe even in the middle of longer ones and at the end of videos. So that does help provide some money to the channel, which is kind of very much appreciated for people who are sticking with those videos and watching those, because it does help provide for my web hosting. I really want to get a new webcam, because this webcam is not great, and I'm actually only using the computer mic, so apologies, the audio is probably really rubbish at the moment. but I'd love to get a new webcam just so it can be a little bit better quality for you, and the sound can be better. I do have a microphone, a lapel mic I could have plugged in, but yeah, this live stream wasn't actually planned. It was just because it was ticking over into that that 10,000 mark. So there are costs involved. I'm going to need to replace my lights because they're they're kind of reaching the end of their days. Need to get some new batteries, which are quite expensive. In New Zealand, everything is incredibly expensive. It's, there are definite benefits to being in the middle of nowhere on the other side of the world, surrounded by ocean. The cost of getting stuff is not one of those benefits because everything is incredibly expensive. But that's okay. I chose to live here. It is what it is. Like the web hosting, so ourpetshealth.com, the hosting for that and the costs involved with running that website are quite significant. The cost of the hosting for my podcast and the equipment and things for that is expensive. So, there's the cost there, and so the ad revenue definitely helps. And so I appreciate you sticking with those ads, and I hope you'll put up with that. Now that I do have 10,000 subscribers, so it's all a little bit of a process, isn't it? And you're seeing this with bigger YouTube channels and other things online. I would like to get some merch and t-shirts. So if anyone's interested in any designs there, then let me know. I've got an idea of a few things, just in case people are interested in supporting the channel like that. And also, I'm releasing my Patreon kind of style platform, which is the Our Pets Health Academy, which is going to be going live in a couple of weeks for anyone else who wants to support the channel in any way. But that said, I didn't start this for the money at all. I started it to try and help people to get good information online, to try and help provide evidence-based information about what their pet might be going through and some of the steps that they might need to take. So I really hope that I've helped in a small way some of your dogs and your cats be as happy and healthy as possible. So thanks for joining me for this. I'll stop rambling now and I'll get back to editing a couple of videos. I've got a few things. What have I got coming up? I've got something about pets insurance. So I've spoken about pet insurance before, but I've been asked the question is, what's my take on pets insurance? So I've got that coming out. I think that might be my next one is actually a bit of a rant I did when I was on call in the middle of the night about going back to people thinking that vets are just in it for the money. Just because I can and it's new. We Sprout. That is an awesome profile picture. I love it. That's super cute. Thank you. Thanks for joining me on the live stream. I appreciate you commenting as well. That's great. Where was I? Yeah, so I've got a rant, and it was filmed in the middle of the night. I was thinking, well, should I release it? Because no one wants to hear. Well, maybe you do want to hear a rant, but it's a bit indulgent. But I've got that, and then I've got something about pet insurance, and I've got loads of comments coming up. If you do have a question as well, a specific question that you'd like a more detailed answer in, I've got a podcast that you might not be aware of. So it's Call the Vet is the name of the podcast. So if you go onto whatever podcast app you are, Google, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever, if you search for Call the Vet, I answer in depth someone's question. If you go to callthevet.org, you'll get there's a form there to fill in, and I always reply to every email. So even though some of those podcast questions were asked quite a long time ago, I have already replied in an email to those questions. So submit your question there. Until next time, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the 10,000 subscribers. It means an awful lot to me, and I will see you. Oh, God, I need to work my way how to drive this thing, don't I? I will see you in the next video. So I'll finish how I always do. So I'm Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family.